All eyes are on Florida today as Donna Adelson is back in court for her sentencing.
Donna Adelson has caused immense devastation and an untimely, undeserved murder.
Defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
There's a moment in every courtroom that lays a person bare. Not the verdict, not even the sentence, but what they choose to say when they get one final shot to speak. That last chance to be human. For 75-year-old Donna Adelson, a once respected South Florida grandmother, that moment came when she stood in front of Judge Stephen Everett. She had plenty to say about her family, the justice system, and her proclaimed innocence. What she didn't say? Sorry. Not once, not even close. The judge noticed. He didn't even wait for her to finish before stepping in, warning her that her utter lack of remorse could factor into her sentence. Not that it really mattered. Under Florida law, a first-degree conviction without the death penalty on the table leaves only one outcome: life behind bars. No parole, no second chances. And yet the courtroom leaned in when she spoke. People wanted to hear what she had to say after staying silent for so long during the trial. Her moment at the mic was supposed to be a window into her heart. Instead, it showed just how closed off she really was. So now, instead of watching her grandkids grow up, Donna Adelson will grow old and meet her maker in a prison cell, convicted for orchestrating the passing of the very man who gave her those grandkids. The courtroom was tense, emotions raw. And as it all came to a close, it became clear. The saga for a slaying for convenience plot, nearly a decade in the making, may be ending for Donna, but the bigger story isn't over just yet. She never took the stand during her trial, never defended herself to the jury, never offered a version of events. Just sat quietly, almost stately in appearance, as witness after witness took the stand to describe her role in a calculated plan to have her ex-son-in-law, Dan Markle, taken care of in his garage. But when the trial was over, when the jury had already decided her fate, she finally spoke. Then, seated beside her defense team, Donna finally let loose. Her voice wavered, her tone impassioned. She called Dan Markle's passing a tragedy, acknowledging the gaping hole it left in the lives of his kids, his family, his students. She said his sons still keep photos of him by their beds. It was a quiet, almost tender moment. Some in the courtroom leaned in, wondering if this might be her chance to reach out, to connect, to show some shred of humanity. And then she flipped the script. Suddenly she was attacking the prosecution, blasting the state for changing its mind about who the mastermind was. First, they said it was Catherine Magbanua, then Charlie Adelson, Donna's son. Her point? If they can't decide who's in charge, how can any of it be trusted? It was part legal argument, part emotional plea, and part defiant rant. If I had known about the plan, she said, I would have stopped it. That's when Judge Everett cut her off, his voice firm, calm, but with an unmistakable edge. Her complete lack of remorse, he said, wasn't helping her case. But she pushed on, undeterred. She brought up a juror she claimed had inside info. She accused the state of bending the truth. She described her conviction as a miscarriage of justice, not just against her, but against Dan himself. Danny, she said more than once, first name basis, personal. He would be appalled at the total lack of justice that went on during my trial. She said she was a victim, that the case was built on sand. I swear to you on my life, she told the court, her voice rising, I was not involved. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. No softness, no regret, just righteous fury. In the eyes of many in that room, it wasn't the statement of a wrongfully convicted woman, it was the final confirmation of guilt. And as the judge watched her dig in, you could almost feel the weight of her words sealing her fate in real time. Before Donna spoke, Harvey Adelson, her husband of decades, addressed the court. What started as a heartfelt defense quickly spiraled into a jaw-dropping attack. Harvey thanked the judge, nodded toward the court, and then accused the entire system of bias. He blamed the media, he blamed the jurors, he even, unbelievably, blamed the judge himself, said the courtroom had been tainted before they ever walked in. Judge Everett tried to stop him, calmly, politely, but Harvey wasn't done. He continued after a pause, almost like he had to get the words out no matter the consequences. Donna did nothing wrong, he insisted. You're sending an innocent woman to prison. And in doing so, you've taken my life too. The gallery sat still. Lawyers shifted. No one quite knew what to do with a husband confronting the man who was about to send his wife away forever. It was a rare, raw moment, one of those scenes you don't see often in court, a spouse willing to stand on principle, right or wrong, and speak from the gut. And it raised the emotional stakes of the day even higher. After hearing the defense team ask for leniency on the lesser charges, Judge Everett made his decision. He asked Donna to rise. His tone never changed. It was steady, resolute. The planning and coordination here were significant, he said. These weren't random crimes. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment decision. You conspired with your son and with others. He made it clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was cold. It was strategic. It was planned. And the jury believed that. He told her she had every right to deny involvement, but that the court wasn't swayed. The evidence, cell phones, money transfers, timing, relationships, all of it pointed to her. He rejected the plea for lighter sentencing. You were not a minor player, he said plainly. You helped make this happen. The sentence came swift and unforgiving. Life in prison. No chance of parole. Conspiracy and solicitation would also carry time, but those sentences would run alongside the main one. Donna, now visibly older, more frail than during her trial, just stood there. No tears, no outburst, just silence. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was resignation. Maybe it was the weight of knowing this was her last day as a free woman. As soon as Donna finished speaking, her defense attorney Jackie Fulford jumped in, ready to challenge everything. She argued that Donna's refusal to confess was her way of showing remorse. Mrs. Adelson couldn't have shown more remorse, Fulford claimed. She's innocent and she said so. It was a bold take, one that confused more than it convinced. Because remorse, by definition, means accepting guilt and expressing sorrow. Donna did the opposite. She denied, attacked, doubled down. Still, Fulford tried to reframe the narrative. She asked for just 3 years on the conspiracy and solicitation charges, saying Donna's role was minor, especially compared to someone like Luis Rivera, who literally pulled the trigger. But the judge wasn't having it. There is no evidence, he said, that she was a minor participant. End of discussion. As deputies approached to fingerprint her and take her away for good, Donna turned to Harvey. She blew him a kiss. That small, human moment, after an hour of defiance, was the only trace of tenderness she showed. The woman who'd just been handed a life sentence for masterminding a slaying still showed no remorse for the life lost, just love for the man who never left her side. Harvey didn't speak to reporters. He looked hollow as he exited. Defense lawyer Chris Zellman, boarding the courthouse elevator, gave only a short sentence to the press. The outcome was not unexpected. Nothing more. Assistant State Attorney Georgia Kappelman, who has been on this case for nearly a decade, left through a side door, avoiding the crush of questions. For her, this was justice delivered after years of uphill battles. Dan Markle's parents, Ruth and Phil, watched the sentencing from their home in Canada. They'd already traveled to Florida after Donna's guilty verdict, delivering soul-crushing victim impact statements in person. This was a crime of cruelty, Ruth had said then. Also, a grandmother could live near her grandkids, and in the process she destroyed them. It was never about money or rage, not in the traditional sense. It was about proximity. Donna and her family wanted the boys in Miami. Dan said no. The court backed him. So they made a choice, allegedly, to eliminate the obstacle. Ruth described it perfectly, a crime of convenience disguised as family loyalty. It was chilling. Donna's friends still can't believe it. They sent letters filled with stories of her kindness, described her as generous, thoughtful, warm. One couple who'd known her for over 50 years said they couldn't even reconcile the person they knew with the person who now stood convicted. But the truth is, people are complicated. The same person who bakes cookies and remembers birthdays can, under the right circumstances, be capable of terrible things, especially if they think it's to protect their own. Donna was the fifth and final domino. Luis Rivera, 19 years. Sigfredo Garcia, life. Catherine Magbanua, life. Charlie Adelson, life. Now Donna, life. The plan had been pieced together through phone records, car rentals, wiretaps, bus surveillance. It took years, but investigators followed every breadcrumb, and one by one, the conspirators fell. Dan Markle, a respected FSU law professor, lost his life in broad daylight. July 18, 2014. He'd just come from the gym, had just dropped his kids at daycare, pulled into his garage and was ambushed, all because of a custody battle. His ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, wanted to move south. A judge said no. Dan said no, so someone made a choice. Now here we are. Donna Adelson, once a socialite, now inmate for life. When she had the chance to show humanity, she chose instead to argue, blame, and double down. Her husband stood by her. Her friends painted her as a saint. The jury saw something else. 5 people are now serving life sentences. 2 boys have lost their father and, essentially, their grandmother and uncle. And the question still hangs, will Wendy Adelson be next? Legal experts say maybe. Some jurors from the recent trial say she should. Prosecutors, they're saying nothing. Donna's chapter is closed, but the story may still have one final act. What's left in the wake of it all is something deeper than just legal closure. The Markle case isn't just a courtroom saga, it's a portrait of a fractured American family, torn apart by bitterness, entitlement, and a fatal inability to accept legal limits. What began as a custody dispute spiraled into a slaying plot, orchestrated not by strangers in the shadows, but by people who smiled at birthday parties and sat at family dinners. The level of dysfunction is staggering, not just because of what they did, but because of how calmly they seemed to live with it afterward. Donna Adelson continued her normal life for nearly a decade after Dan Markle was eliminated. Family trips, holidays, grandparenting, birthdays, all of it while law enforcement was quietly building a case around her. It's part of what made her trial so surreal, watching someone who appeared so grandmotherly, so outwardly poised, accused of something so cold-blooded. She wasn't panicked or desperate when she was arrested. She was boarding a flight to Vietnam, possibly trying to flee the country. That moment, caught by law enforcement at the Miami airport, one-way ticket in hand, was what many believe sealed her image in the public mind. A woman who, after years of dodging scrutiny, saw the walls finally closing in and chose to run. It was, in the eyes of prosecutors, not just suspicious, it was confirmation. To them, that act wasn't the beginning of the story, it was the final sentence. Meanwhile, the lives Dan Markle touched continue to move forward, fractured but enduring. His parents, Ruth and Phil, have fought not only for justice, but also for access to their grandchildren, who they say were cut off after Dan's untimely passing. They worked with lawmakers to pass legislation, informally dubbed the Markle Act, aimed at giving grandparents legal recourse in situations like theirs. For them, the courtroom win is only one part of the battle. The real goal is to protect what's left of Dan's legacy, his children. And for the legal community, Dan's case remains a scar. He wasn't just a father and a victim, he was a scholar, a mentor, a thinker. His colleagues at Florida State University still remember his brilliance in the classroom and his passion for justice. His slaying wasn't just personal, it was a loss to the intellectual community, to the future lawyers he would have inspired, to the conversations he'll never be a part of. As for Wendy Adelson, her name is now a permanent fixture in the case's shadow. She has never been charged. She's never been formally accused, but her proximity to the motive, the denied custody motion, the desire to move south, the comments she made in early interviews that now sound unsettling in hindsight, has made her a lightning rod. In courtroom after courtroom, her name surfaced again and again. In testimony, in text messages, in theory, if not in charges, and now the public is watching closely. If prosecutors decide to move forward, it will be one of the most watched decisions in recent memory. If they don't, questions will remain about justice, about evidence, about what it really means to bring a case to a close. For now, Donna Adelson's journey has ended in a concrete cell. Her golden years, once destined for country clubs and family gatherings, will now unfold behind barbed wire and steel doors. Her final public act wasn't one of remorse or reflection, it was denial wrapped in defiance. She could have chosen contrition. Instead, she chose confrontation, and the law, unmoved, answered accordingly. But justice isn't just about verdicts, it's about consequences, about memory, about legacy. And when the headlines fade and the courtroom is quiet, the deeper truth will remain. One man lost his life, 2 boys lost their father, and a family once obsessed with being together by any means necessary ended up completely, irrevocably shattered.